We're talking about protecting democracy and the threat we faced leading up to January 6th. And it wasn't just about one day. It was about this concerted effort that we have continued to talk about building up to January 6th. And so individuals who have knowledge should come forward, whether that's Kevin McCarthy or Barry Loudermilk or Ginni Thomas.
And on that note, the January 6th committee has now sent Ginni Thomas a letter asking her to come on down and talk to the panel regarding that new reporting that she exchanged emails with John Eastman. The wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas told the Daily Caller this: "I can't wait to clear up misconceptions." So let's welcome Denver Riggleman, former Republican congressman from Virginia. He was also an advisor to the January 6th committee. And I want to make a quick side note. Ginni Thomas, if you're watching, you are welcome to join me any night of the week, and we can clear up those misconceptions. I'm so glad you're here tonight. You were a committee insider. You have said before that the text messages you've seen from Mark Meadows were so horrible, you had to walk away from your computer. What can you tell us about Ginni Thomas's communications?
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of that, I was fortunate being the senior technical advisor, Stephanie, and you probably know this. I was one of the first to see the text with the link to the name. It was up to us to validate those text messages. So when I saw them, I think of the 5 words that chilled me the most was "I hope this is true," which is at the bottom of one of the first texts when she talks about Democrats going to Gitmo. She talks about watermarked ballots. She actually sort of sprinkles in a lot of the QAnon conspiracy theories, and that's, and reading all those 29 text messages, there seemed to be a break from reality. And also, her access is what bothered me the most. And it does some of the things you're like, well, that's pretty funny. You laugh at some of these things. But it looked like the QAnon conspiracy theories had infiltrated, every part of the Republican Party. And looking at the wife of Supreme Court Justice sending this type of almost deranged type of text messages, it really struck me when I went through all the text messages how that thread was sort of interwoven between all of them. You also had her forwarding in text messages from Connie Hare, who is Louis Gohmert's chief of staff. And, it's really interesting when you see a text message like that, when you have Ginni Thomas, the wife of Clarence Thomas, forwarding a text from the chief of staff of Louis Gohmert to Mark Meadows. You have people either very close or right on the cusp of all 3 branches of government involved. And that's when I called attention to the committee, and that was a while ago. So I was very glad to see that they sent a letter to Ginni Thomas after all the things that we saw today.
Okay, but why now? To your point, we've known this for a while. It's old news. What is it about her exchange with Eastman that got the committee to act?
I think it's because you also saw the 29 emails or the 29 Arizona legislators that she reached out to, which is a coincidence. The 29 texts, the 29 legislators. Now you see emails directly with Eastman. I do wish it was a little bit earlier that they had sent a letter to Ginni Thomas, but they're doing the right thing now. And I think what's important about this as we look at it is that there is a pattern of an individual who has that type of access, who is close to a Supreme Court justice, that's going to all levels of this sort of conspiracy, if you look at it, right? She's talking to state legislators, she's talking to congressional representatives, she's talking to the executive branch. And your imagination, you'd almost have to, be willfully obtuse or deliberately obtuse to think that, the Supreme Court justice wasn't aware of some of the things that were happening. And that's why I think that Ginni Thomas needs to be questioned. However, if you look at her documents, her emails and text messages, they're pretty damning. And again, as far as the United States institutions that we have and, sort of our republic, I think we're at a time that we need to get answers on, what the hell was going on here.
How about answers on financial fraud? $250 million raised for a Stop the Steal Defense Fund, a fund that didn't even exist. How much of what the committee is revealing is an attempt to prove financial fraud? Can't just be Kimberly Guilfoyle, who got paid $60 grand to talk for 2 minutes.
Well, I would love to make that kind of money. And, I think another thing we have here is that when you look at the $250 million, I've said this before, Stephanie, that's the floor. Stop the Steal just isn't a conspiracy theory, it's a brand. So you have individuals, members that are raising money on that type of hyperbole and outrage. You have the RNC, the NSRC, the NRCC. You have individuals that are using Stop the Steal, outrageous language and hyperbole to raise money. So when you're talking about $250 million, I do believe that's the floor. I think follow the money might be the most important, part of the investigation for the committee. They have a very talented team there. And when you see at the end of this, whether it's the report, whether they get to in the hearing, Stephanie, I think just the amount of money that flows through this grift, and I think it's the largest conspiratorial grift in the history of the United States. When you see the money that flows through this grift, when you see the team's investigation and how the committee puts it together, I think the country will realize, right, that you know, you're on the edge of a very big fraud here of the American people. And when they pass around that digital collection plate, whether it's through email fundraising, whether it's through hard mailers, whether it's through digital, you know, all of this is really based on some of the most bizarre conspiracy theories we've ever seen with foreign interference. And again, that should concern the American public.
We're out of time, but I can't let you go without asking. You know a lot more information about the evidence than we do, and I know there's more coming out real time. But is the best yet to come? What's coming?
I believe so. There's so much data, Stephanie. The best is yet to come. They have really set up the case for the next 3 hearings, and I think the American people need to be glued. I think the committee's done a wonderful job. Very proud of them. And you have some incredibly talented, nonpartisan people on there. And I know people are like, well, Denver, you're going to say that because you have to. No. The people that you have are AUSAs, you have investigators, you have people who are never involved in politics. They're trying to do the right thing for America. The staff that have done the work, they really are the real heroes of this investigation.
All right, then. Denver Riggleman, thank you for joining us tonight. I appreciate it.